He conquered most of Europe. He rewrote the laws of an entire civilization. He turned a struggling revolutionary army into the most feared fighting machine on the continent. And then, on one rainy Sunday in Belgium, Napoleon Bonaparte lost everything. Not to a smarter enemy, not to a bigger army, he lost to himself. This is the story of how the most dangerous weapon Napoleon ever carried wasn't a cannon or a cavalry charge. It was his ego. It's June 1815. Napoleon has just escaped exile, marched back into Paris without firing a single shot, and reclaimed the French throne. And that's precisely the problem. When you've won so many times in so many impossible situations, you stop being a general and start being a god, at least in your own mind. And gods don't take advice. Blunder number 1. Napoleon dismisses every warning he gets. The morning of June 18th, Napoleon is eating breakfast off silver plate at headquarters. His generals, men who carry the scars of the Iberian Peninsula, beg him to take Wellington seriously. Marshal Soult, his own chief of staff, urges caution and suggests recalling the 33,000 men dispatched to pursue the Prussians. Napoleon's response was a masterclass in arrogance. He snapped, "Just because you have all been beaten by Wellington, you think he's a good general. I tell you, Wellington is a bad general. The English are bad troops, and this affair is nothing more than eating breakfast." Soult replied simply, "I earnestly hope so." He was right to worry. Blunder number 2 is the one historians still argue about 2 centuries later. Napoleon delays the attack. On a morning where every hour matters, he waited until midday to let the sodden ground dry. And that delay gave Blücher's Prussians time to march to Waterloo and join the battle by late afternoon. While Wellington was organizing his troops by 6 a.m., Napoleon was watching the mud dry. Every minute he waited, Blücher's army marched closer. The window of opportunity slammed shut. The Prussians marched through it. Blunder number 3 is a portrait of a man who can no longer update his mental model of the world. Napoleon's plan was brutally simple: frontal assault. Smash through Wellington's center with overwhelming force. The same plan that worked at Ligny 2 days earlier. The problem? Wellington isn't Blücher. The terrain favored Wellington's defensive tactics. The reverse slope of the ridge hid his troops from artillery and enabled counterattacks. Napoleon's veteran generals, including Riley and Foy, who had bled fighting the British in Spain, told him exactly this. He didn't want clever. He wanted power, because power had always worked before. Blunder number 4, the ghost army that never showed up. Napoleon had sent 33,000 men under Marshal Grouchy, roughly a third of his total force, to keep Blücher pinned away from Waterloo. Grouchy, executing orders to follow the Prussians toward Wavre, was too far away to return in time. When his subordinate urged him to march to the sound of the guns, Grouchy stuck to his orders. Napoleon had divided his army, then bet everything that the right man would do the right thing at the right moment. That's not strategy. That's wishful thinking dressed in a uniform. And then blunder number 5, the most haunting one of all. In exile on St. Helena, Napoleon reflected on what went wrong. He blamed Ney. He blamed Grouchy. He blamed the rain. He blamed generals for being faint-hearted men. He said, "Had it not been for the desertion of a traitor, I should have annihilated the enemy. I should have destroyed him at Ligny if my left had done its duty. I should have destroyed him again at Waterloo if my right had not failed me." Notice what's missing from that list? Himself. The man who dismissed his general's warnings. The man who delayed the attack. The man who sent away a third of his army and called the whole thing breakfast. even in exile, even facing the end of everything. He could not see that the enemy who beat him was the one in the mirror. That's the real story of Waterloo. It's the story of a mind so fortified by its own legend that no new information could get inside. Every victory taught Napoleon one lesson: trust yourself above all others. For years, that lesson was correct, until the one day it wasn't. And by then, he had no mechanism left to learn anything different. If this kind of deep dive into the psychology behind history's greatest moments is your thing, hit subscribe and drop in the comments. Do you think Napoleon could have won at Waterloo? Or was the outcome written long before the first shot was ever fired?